I think working in like a kind of like a hands-on experience and more of like a I was able to interact with like the different topics that I'm learning about in my master's program. So from just like reading about it in textbooks and writing papers on it, I was able to see like how it looks in like the actual field, like when talking about like advocacy work and like grassroots efforts and like program management, like all that stuff that I was like, oh yeah, that seems really interesting to me, like that something that I want to see myself doing. And then kind of interacting with these professionals who that's their job, and like I'm like, oh, I kind of I relate to like Melissa a lot on like some of her passions, and like and she was like a data whiz, and I kind of learned from her in that way, and like I thought that was so interesting. So it's like kind of growing kind of that like sphere of knowledge of like what I thought I saw myself in, and like kind of interacting with different roles and different topics, and then seeing like where my skills fit, where my passions were, and like what I really saw myself doing. So
First months, it was like mainly my manager teach me to like how they work before, and I was like learning. And for the second month, I began to like handle it all by myself. So I got a chance to, really plan for what's the theme of the month. For example, we used to have the Black Women's Month, kind of like that. And for April at that time, I planned for the pre-training months. So for that month, the theme for our social media is to tell our, future teacher about our pre-training program. And we also ask different people, like there are some, employees from TNTP and also from past, students, past teachers in TNTP program. We ask them about their first pre-training program and how they felt and what did they learn from this pre-training program. And we collect from the surveys, and we made them into different, posts, and also, social media posts and like Instagram stories. So that's the chance for me to, really put something I'm thinking of, I'm designing of into real thing. And, the process of seeing what you plan into real thing is really like fantastic, because, you are like thinking of if this could be a good idea, but you're really employing it into a real thing and people are really liking it. So it's a fantastic journey.
The internship is like my first time working with like a really close-knit team. Uh, Even people always say like communication is important, but I think I didn't really realize that until internship. I always thought that was kind of just like oh yeah, communication is important. Gotta express yourself, gotta make sure you keep in touch. But after this internship, I realized just how important communication is. Like especially with like the work from home and like working through Zoom and stuff. It's without communication, it's things things unravel pretty quickly. So it's definitely important to keep talking with your managers, your bosses, your coworkers. But communication is locked down, then it makes things so much easier.
Some of my goals when I first started the internship was really working towards kind of having a great sense of communication when talking about the skills we were learning. And it was a really great opportunity to enhance, again, communication with a mentor, with a boss, but to be really able to work closely kind of with students. In the end, you didn't get to talk directly to students, but you really felt a close connection with the work you were able to do. And for me, I was really lucky enough to have a fantastic mentor who really oriented my projects to helping in the best way we can, helping these students, multilingual learners, in the best possible way, using the new technology we have, and kind of finding solutions to real world problems that we see every day in the field of education. And I think this internship really wrapped up, in the end, altogether, a great 6 months of focusing on the young learner and really finding some good progress in the research we were doing.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned that I had no experience in at all was like client calls and like being like a fly on the wall and like note taking and like agenda setting and planning ahead and like kind of being a part of and being included in those types of planning processes. So that's incredibly beneficial moving forward. We're learning how to interact with not only coworkers but also clients and like networking in that way as well. Um, it's been kind of like for me, it's kind of intimidating, like especially being on those client calls, and I'm like, oh, I don't really know my role in this thing. I'm just note taking, but like speaking up and like asking questions, like being comfortable, kind of relying on like my team now and like um looking for support in those ways and kind of garnering that confidence to speak up and like ask a question about something that I have a role in.
I would say I have never worked in a nonprofit organization before. So first of all, it's a chance for me to know more about nonprofit organization and for the education industry. I have also never worked in the education industry before. So I got a chance to learn what it is like and what TNTP is doing, and what is different from like traditional cooperation and nonprofits. Like nonprofit, you will feel like you're doing something good for the society. It's like, for example, TNTP is doing different researches to tell people about, for example, their lack of Black teacher and the impact of lack of Black teacher to future students. And these researchers and these staff will make you feel like you're really doing something good to the society instead of when I used to work in some corporation, for example, I used to work for Maria, and you will feel like you're making profit. That is different from working in a nonprofit organization. So that feeling is really different. It made me feel like I want to work for, really work for the better future. That kind of feeling.
I definitely did not know too much about how education worked before, or like what were like the parameters that people use, quote unquote, measure how well certain like school districts are doing. But this was like I just had no idea what I was getting to, but I think it's really cool, and I thought that TNTP is doing some really like essential work basically. I'm sure teachers think it's useful too, or are happy to like use this as a resource that they can improve at. For future aspirations, I mean, I totally wouldn't be against working with education in the education field again, even if it's as like a data analyst or like a data something. But I mean, that was the whole reason I joined TNTP, right? I really liked the company's like kind of like its goals, and its that it was doing something that I felt was important, that like kind of lined up with me. So yeah.
I have been really lucky enough to do a lot of in-person substitute teaching, and I'm a child life specialist. And working with TNTP helped me to see that world in a remote sense. We live in a different kind of world now ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, and this internship really taught me ways to use the resources that we have on the internet in the best way possible, and to find the real and true viable resources that will be able to help hopefully students for a long time.